screen.
Okay, we're also gonna record the sessions. If you guys aren't comfortable with that, then let us know. But yeah, we'll be starting HTML and CSS. This is the first workshop of a series of 4, including JavaScript next week.
So we'll start with introductions.
All right, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. So I'm Shreya and I'm a sophomore in high school. I'm like pretty into CS and I hope to pursue it as a career. And I've been coding for like a few years now, like I'd say 3 to 4 years. Ashley?
All right. I'm Ashley. I'm a current senior in high school. I have around 6 years of coding experience, but only a couple years of HTML and CSS. And thank you, Suhas, for participating. 11 years old. Oh my God. 11 years old already trying to start coding. Amazing. Okay. Darsh and Ovia, I'm 12. Nice. Okay. Arav, Darsh, would you guys like to just introduce yourselves a little bit? All right, we're just going to continue. And if you guys want to introduce yourselves, go ahead and put it in chat. All right. So we're going to go over a little bit of what we're going to do. Today is our first day. We have an hour to go over a little bit about HTML and CSS and some interactive activities associated with it. For day 2, which is tomorrow, we're going to be going into projects. A quick run through of kind of just what you guys want to make. It'll be pretty much up to you, but we're going to use what we learned today and then implement it there. Right, next. Okay, so really quick, if you guys haven't already, please make a REPL account. I think it was given out before, but yeah, I'll send a link. And just to assign a show of hands, who has created an account? If you guys don't know how to use the reactions, you just the bottom right, you have like, nice, okay. All right, Arav.
Sahas and Darsh, have you guys created a REPL?
All right.
And Darsh, if you haven't created a REPL, create one now. I sent a link in the chat. It's not complicated, just email and username and password. So do that. You can do that right now if you haven't.
Yeah, okay. Let us know when you guys are finished. Just do a quick thumbs up reaction. Should be fun. Nice. And then Darsh, were you able to? Oh, okay. But was he able to? All right, no worries. I can wait around 1 more minute and then We'll continue. All right, we're gonna continue. We're gonna keep moving forward. If you haven't created it yet, that's totally fine. Just throughout the presentation, just make sure you get it. All right.
So the first coding language we're gonna start off with is HTML, which is like the basic skeleton of a website, and it stands for Hypertext Markup Language. So the textbook definition of HTML is that it's a standardized system for tagging text files to achieve font, color, graphic, and hyperlink effects on web pages. It's a really complicated definition, but a simpler way to understand it is that HTML is like the base for all websites. Like you can type words onto a web page, and like the relationship between HTML and CSS is sort of like baking a cake. Um, like HTML is like actually making the cake, which is like the base. It's like completely plain, right? Nothing special. And then CSS is like the extra details, like the filling, frosting, glazes. It makes the cake appetizing, right? And so that's what CSS does to your HTML web page. And yeah. So first we have HTML structure. HTML is basically just organized into like a family tree structure, which is to say, like if you look here at this little image, you can see that there's these like elements, right? An element is like start tag, some content, and then an end tag, right? This is inside this div tag. So it's like you can say that it's the child of the div tag. And the indentation helps you like indicate where an element is and what relationship it has to another tag. And so HTML tags basically just mark the end and a beginning of an element. Like this is the basic structure right here. Like you have this bracket sort of thing. You have the tag name, and you have the closing bracket. You put in your content for that specific tag. Like let's say it's a heading tag, you'd put in a heading, right? And then to end the element, you have to put the beginning bracket, add like a slash to indicate that it's an end tag, put the tag name, and then the other bracket. And then here is a example like of a tag. We have the body tag, which is closed here, the H1 tag, the P tag, and then the HTML tag. And these are some common tags that you use while coding in HTML. Doc type HTML is one of the most important, and it has to be typed exactly like this because it declares a document type, which is an HTML text, right? And then the actual document starts with this HTML tag. And in this, you'd put all of your code, like everything. And then after that, we have the body tag, which is the visible part of your code, meaning that's what you're going to see on the web page. Like whatever you code in the body tag is going to be on the web page. And then this main tag is sort of like just the main content of your document. So it would have stuff like headings, paragraphs, stuff that's going to be specific to your web page. And then this H1 tag is one of your heading tags, which we have 6 of. It's H1 is the main one, right? It's the biggest. And then another one is the paragraph tag. It's just instead of H1, it'll be a P and a P, and it has like normal text. One thing to note is that HTML tags like aren't case sensitive. So for let's say for the body tag, you can put like an uppercase, you can type body out uppercase and it mean the same as what you see here. But I'd suggest sticking to lowercase tags for like convenience in reading it. And now we actually have a small interactive activity.
Before we get into the interactive part though, does everyone understand what we just went over? And if not, we could always go back and reiterate stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. If you have any questions, post them in the chat and I'll get to them, or whoever's not speaking will get to them with you. So definitely, if you had like no idea what was going on just now, and you like totally, it just like flew over your head, please let me know in chat. Just say that.
Yeah,
But
we want you guys to understand what we're telling you. We don't want you to just be confused the entire time.
right, because you're going to use this later on in the workshop. Okay. I'm going to share my screen now. Oh, let me quickly get this also posted in the chat. Go ahead and click on that link, and then you're gonna be taken to a cover page. On that cover page on the top right, there's gonna be an option to fork the REPL. I want you all to fork it to be able to like actually edit and like work on the project yourself. So yeah. But so this is where you're gonna see when you click on the link. I have an edit in workshop option because it's mine, but you guys are gonna fork the REPL. Let me know when you're done forking it, and then we can get started. All right. You got one? You need two more. And then Ara, if your brother's gonna come back, please let me know because I don't want to.
So my brother thinks it's too hard for him, so I don't think he'll be participating.
Okay. Okay, no worries.
And also, yeah, I'm done.
Okay, got it. All right, so we're gonna quickly go into what this is. It looks kind of intricate, but it's kind of just not necessary to know. It's metadata, so it's kind of like what goes on behind creating an HTML document. As of right now, we're not going to be hitting any of this. We're not going to be touching it, except for maybe this. This changes the tab name. So if you were to change this to just like go back to REPL, it changed the tab title. So if you wanted to change this to maybe like what the name of the website is called, then you could just reload that and then it changes it to that. And that's using the title tag. So a really quick note though, when it comes to tags, since it's very memorization based, you can always Google whatever you need to find. As you know, Google is basically your best friend in any sort of CS case. Definitely will send you resources if you need help. But yeah. A quick overview though, this links your style sheet to your HTML file. So to be able to access any of this information that we will be put in later, you're going to need to include this linking text. Same
One
thing
more
for,
thing to note. Sorry, Ashley.
okay.
But for this link tag that you see, as you can see, it's like it doesn't have an an end tag, right? It's just on its own. This is basically just it's called like an empty element because it doesn't have an end tag. And you can see this is one of the ones that closes with like a slash at the end. There's only a few empty elements, but this is an important one to note because it links your style sheet. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely make sure to note that. Same thing with this JavaScript, except it has an actual end tag. This also links your JavaScript sheet, but we'll talk about that next week. But yeah, so we have our doc type HTML necessary for any HTML document that we will create, as well as this HTML tag. This HTML tag also has an end tag. It encloses all of your HTML that you're going to create. So make sure to include both of these. And yeah, so our body tag also encloses most of our HTML, but it excludes any of our head data, including like stuff that literally won't show up on your website. So all of this is going to show up on your website. So make sure to use the right headers or the right tags for appropriate data. This is a header tag. It's not necessary or not needed in an HTML document. It's just used for organization purposes to tell your reader, to tell fellow developers what kind of information you're putting within it, or what type of information you're putting in your website in general. I'd use this for basically just the title, like the main thing that you're trying to get across, which is in this case Jam Challenge. So I just placed Jam Challenge within header and gave the words, the letters, a design tag or the H1 tag. Now, if I were to get rid of the H1 tag and make it just a P tag, which in this case, actually in all cases, stands for paragraph. So P will always stand for paragraph. Just to help you guys remember that when you're just using like a regular like text tag and you want to like write text, you should always try and use P. But if I were to change it to a P tag, it take off all of the bold and all of the large font and make it pretty normal. Let's put that back. And it reverts back. Here's our main tag. Just like our body tag, main is a sub tag of body. So it helps us organize and let us know what our main content is of our website. In this case, it's just going to be my favorite song. So all of this content is going to be under main tag. And in this, my favorite song is, in yours, please put your favorite song. So just like for me, Bad Habit by Steve Lacy is my favorite song. So go ahead and replace that. And I've listened to this song this many times this week, is something else that I've added. And actually this week I've listened to it around 15 times. So I really like this song. But how many times you listen to this song, please put it in this tag. Always make sure it's in between the open and closing tags. Otherwise it will give you an error. So yeah. And then once you guys have finished adding in those, please give us a thumbs up. And if one of you guys want to share, go ahead. But you guys are going to be adding even more using this. This will be your next assignment after that. Oh, and I don't think I addressed this H2 tag, but it's pretty self-explanatory. It's a little bit smaller than the H1 tag, as you can tell. H1 is like a lot bigger, a lot more bold. and H2 is a lot smaller and a lot less bold, but both of them are still like header tags. And you could definitely see the difference between the H1 and H2 and the P tags. So yeah. Okay. Hopefully you guys got that. Oh. Welcome back, Arav. Were you able to, I don't know when you dropped off, but were you able to like fork the REPL and add to it yourself?
Sorry, my computer wasn't working, so I had to shut it down and restart. I only got to the part where like you change the song and the number. Did I miss anything else?
Oh, no, you didn't. That's perfect. If you were you able to change your song and the number?
No, not yet.
All
Because
right.
my computer wouldn't let me click anything. It was being really weird.
Okay. All right. Once you guys have finished that, try and add the artist to that wrote the song, wrote your favorite song, below the amount of times you've listened to it. Using either the P tag, you can use a H2 tag, H3 tag, depends on what preference you guys want. But it should be in the document you guys forked. So yeah. If you can't get to the last part, which is the add your favorite animal and fun fact about them, that's no worries either. Just for now, try and get the artist because we're a little bit short on time, so we should continue. But it's always good to do that.
Should we share the link of our REPL to you?
Actually, you know what? Do you want to just share your screen? Nice. Okay, perfect. All right.
Anyone else?
Great job, Arav. Nice. Okay, so for the artist, yeah, you're gonna want to take that out of the comment. So I totally forgot to mention this, but yeah, it is in a comment. Comments are very useful when you're creating code to be able to add to readability, as we call it. Readability is very convenient for yourself and for other coders to be able to understand what you're trying to write in plain English. Yeah, so it is a little bit hard because sometimes it auto adds an end tag. Oh, you're gonna want to make sure to put your forward slash too in your closing tag for your P. Yep, right there. Perfect. Okay. Nice. And then
Alvia, do you want to share your screen too so we can see how you've done it?
perfect. Looks beautiful. If you do get the chance to add your favorite animal and a little bit about them. But yeah, that's good. Looks great. We'll continue with the presentation onto CSS. Okay, so CSS is the design of the website. It's where all the satisfying things happen. It's where all of like the extra layers of a cake, you know, the HTML is the basic layer. But as you start to develop your cake more, you start to build it up. And maybe if it's like a wedding cake, you know, you want to add those extra touches. That would be our CSS in this case. So CSS is a role-based language. It's considered a style sheet used for describing a presentation or a document. In easier terms, it's more like it coexists with the HTML website. So it like adds on to a document already created as explained as style sheet. So to our right, we have a little bit of example of what a CSS document looks like. It has H1, you know, it has sections for each tag or each attribute that we use. In this case, we have H1 and button as our tags, and as using some CSS, using the CSS language, we have a property and a value for each of the selectors. Selectors in this case would be the H1 and button, sorry. I did not mention that before, but yeah, H1 and button are considered selectors in CSS language. Border is considered the property, and a value for border would be red, solid, and 1 pixel, which PX stands for pixel. This describes kind of what the border would look like. And we'll go into a little bit more about each of the values and properties in a bit. All right, next. Okay, so just as I described earlier with the example, there's a property and value and a selector. Properties in this case would be things like color. Color describes the selector, which in this case is P or paragraph. And per each property, there are several different values. And like in this case, it'd be blue. Okay, so properties, its definition is the style that you are applying to a selector, the type of styling you want to do on an HTML object. So yeah, like I mentioned, color. Value, the variable you change that applies to the property. There are different values specific to each property. And selectors, the name or group associated with HTML tags that you would like to edit, including class or ID or the attribute selector. There are also other selectors available to you for your use, but we won't be going over any of those at the moment because they aren't necessary in creating like a basic HTML website. Also, a quick note, always remember to add a semicolon after every line of code, exempt the curly brackets, because you don't want to add a curly bracket, or you don't add a semicolon after a curly bracket, it's giving you an error. But yeah, after every line of like regular code, make sure to always add that semicolon. All right. So here's a quick example of HTML without CSS versus HTML with CSS. As you guys just saw on the interactive website, this jam challenge is what was given to you guys. This is what it looked like when you first opened it. I edited a little bit with CSS, and what it pops out is on the right. So the jam challenge title is actually centered. I just took a little screenshot of like the left side of the screen, but the padding, the spacing, all of the titles and the bolding, that's all done through CSS. Yeah. Shrey, did you want to show your example? Or
It's not gonna load. It's
Okay.
taking too long.
all right, no worries then. All right, so common properties and values used within CSS include like color or background color. Some values associated with those properties are like blue, green, black, white. The hashtag FCC9C5 is an example of what's considered hex code. I actually use hex code a lot when I create my websites. It's a very convenient tool to use. When you want more specific colors, same thing with the RGB values, if you guys know what that is. If not, that's totally fine. Both of those are very convenient to use when you want, that very specific color. You want pastels, you want neon colors, you want more metallics, whatever it is that you guys want, you can look up online and it'll give you the exact hex code for it. There are also other values that you can use for each property, but we're not going to go into those right now. For display, it's another common property that we use, that I will use. Some values that are associated with it, you could either have none, you could have inline block, flex, grid, and etc. Display will, help you with your display of the content that you're going to have. Pretty self-explanatory, as well as color and background color. If you guys didn't know, just change the color or the background color. Display, yeah, it will change how you kind of look at your content. Sometimes it'll be in like the block or a grid, so it'll go up, down, right, left, horizontal, vertical columns and rows. But yeah, so we can go more into that a little bit later if you guys are confused. For the margin, padding, font size, width, and height properties, all of those have values such as 10 px. Like I mentioned, it stands for pixel, 10%, 10 em. I'm not entirely sure what that stands for, but each of these have different units. The units change. So pixels are obviously a lot smaller than the percentage. So when you use percentage, you're going to want to use a smaller percent, while for pixels, you're going to want to use a bigger pixel size. So yeah, for font family property, it has different values such as Playfair display, comma serif. So that's one entire value that you associate with the font family property. Playfair display is a specific font, and serif is a family that it's associated with. So you're able to put both the font family and the specific font associated with it. Arial, Helvetica, and etc. are all different types of, I think, families. I'm not entirely sure, you might have to search that up, but yeah. Font families are very important, especially if you don't want to use just the basic HTML font that they have, and you want to kind of customize it to your own one. At the same time, there's also going to be another option to use Google Fonts. Google Fonts are very convenient because they give you an embed function where you can put your font into your own website. So you can use like whatever they have on Google Font website. We'll provide that to you tomorrow, probably when you start creating your projects. And then for font weight, there are different values such as bold, normal, lighter, bolder, etc. That's pretty self-explanatory too. Changes the font weight, like how heavy of that color you want it. So yeah, pretty self-explanatory. Another note to mention, all of these are Googleable. As we know, the key to success in CS is knowing how to effectively Google things. So there are a bunch of websites, bunch of resources like W3 School, if you guys aren't aware of it. Gives you so much that you can do with CS, gives you all of the tags, options, and etc. All right. Oh, okay, so a little bit about, if you go back one slide, The property, the margin and padding property. So these are very common. You'll see these like all the time in any sort of website that you create. They're very similar. So I do want to talk a little bit about how different they are in this case. So yeah, so when you're creating, when you're putting your material or your content within two tags, that content is going to be within like an invisible container. And that container has, if you do choose to include it, will have a border. And if you do have a border, you can clearly depict the difference between padding and margin. Padding is going to go inside that margin or that border. Padding is going to go inside the border, while margin is going to go outside of it. So if you're going to set like margin is equal to 5%, that will add space outside of your border, in between your content and maybe another content next to it. So like if you were to say hello world in this content, and in another content say my name is Ashley, that you'd add 5% of space in between those two lines of code. Same thing with padding. You're also going to add space, but it's going to be within the border. So it's going to add space between your words and the border around it. I'll be able to show you guys a little bit of that in the interactive activity, but yeah, that's kind of the idea that we have between margin and padding. All right, so here is the interactive activity. Get this. Same thing with the CSS that we did for HTML. I'm going to send the link and then go ahead and fork it. And for anyone new, if you just came in, I think I saw someone come in like in between HTML and CSS. Okay.
Advik, I noticed that you joined in the middle of our lesson of CSS, and that's like after we covered HTML. So
if you came in late and you don't understand what's going on at all, that's totally fine. But if you want to stay a little bit longer, I think it's fine if you do. We'll just go over it with you. But yeah, we're already like really late into the program. We're already like halfway in, 45 minutes in, so like a 3/4 in. So there's no way we can go back. But yeah, we'll be going over a little bit more tomorrow for the second part of the workshop. So that will include a lot of project-based work. But yeah, I'm so sorry for not giving you the proper amount of time. But yeah, definitely if you're a little bit lost, that's totally fine. Oh, okay, got it. We'll share recordings. All right, does everyone have it forked?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. I don't know what happened to Ara, but let's see. Okay, so this is what you're gonna see. You're gonna fork it. Okay, Arav is back. So, oh, this is the wrong one. So just to get started, I've added a little bit more to my HTML slide. So I just want to go over that a little bit. So our HTML, we obviously have our head data. In our body, I've added a little bit of like organization material. I've added section, which is a tag that'll allow me to organize my data. And a section that I've created is favorite songs. So this section incorporates everything associated with my favorite songs. And so this includes, I keep opening the wrong thing. This includes everything that you see here. So this is all inside my section tag. And it just helps me organize my data, organize my thoughts, and help other people that read it to know like where I am, what I'm talking about. So a subcategory of section is article. Article also helps me organize. And for each article, I have one song associated with it. So that also helps me kind of, you know, space out my material and add padding, add margins to it, and make it pretty organized. So make it consistent, make the sizing of each picture consistent, the sizing of each section consistent. So yeah, it's always nice to have, you know, different div tags. Div tags are like category or container tags that help you organize your thoughts and data. So yeah, so here's an image tag that you use to call an image. I've associated my image with this bad habits PNG, which I've put in an assets folder, also to help with your organization readability. Make sure to always have an assets folder. And so you're gonna create, you just need to call your source and then also create an alt title. So if you, for some reason, weren't able to call your source because maybe a typo or maybe a bad image, when you show up, when it shows up on your website, it'll show up as the alt text. So at least your user knows that this album cover, it was going to be an album cover. It was going to show an image, but it's not there. So yeah, it's just good to have as readability, like I said. So yeah, so like I mentioned, div tag, this will help you organize your thoughts, categorize things, etc. And so yeah, let's go into the CSS. So this asterisk is a sign of like universal, I guess you could call it, but it's pretty much just calling the entire website. So it's adding padding, it's resetting its padding and margin to 0 for everything. If I were to take this away, it kind of changed the spacing because when you're creating tags with like H1, H2, etc., it comes with its own design aspects. And if you don't want that, then you're gonna want to reset both the padding and margin before you do anything else, before you add any other CSS. So it's always convenient to use the asterisk when you want to, you know, reset or add something to the entire web page. Okay. This font family, like we mentioned, changes the font. I haven't included the specific font, but I included the font family, which does actually change it from its original font. So that's very convenient. And as well as background color, I've associated that. If I change that, it'd go back to white. Pretty self-explanatory. For header, so this is associated with this tag. For, you know, regular attribute like tags, you're going to just call it without adding any like extra dot. So for these, when you're adding a period, you're calling a class. And in this case, a class would be like this. You'd add a class to a tag, and then this you'd call with CSS using a period. And this is something else that you'd use. This calls an ID. An ID would be like, where's the ID? Oh. Where is it? Oh. Okay, so this is an example of an ID. It's kind of the same thing as class, except IDs are more specific to one item. So you can't have more than one you can't use the same ID for more than one like object. So I couldn't use this for this. You wouldn't be able to call both of these, like to be able to affect both of these by calling just this one ID. IDs are specific to one tag and one tag only. So you wouldn't be able to put it on here either. But you can have more than one ID. So you can have ID is equal to song. You could have ID is equal to hello world, just whatever, you can have several IDs. It just cannot be the same ID for more than one object. But yeah, that's the ID. That's the difference between class and ID. While class is associated with many different objects, you can only have one class. So it's like vice versa. I don't know. My explanation is kind of off, but if you guys are still confused about that, I can help. Okay, so yeah, so that's kind of an example of background color, margin, padding, font family, and the difference between class and headers and how to call them, or class and IDs and how to call them. Font weight obviously changes the font weight, changes to bold. Width changes to 400. So if I were to change this to like 500, you see it kind of wonked out because they're flowing into each other, and they have no space to go. So it's always good to make sure that your width is good for like the size of your website and what you're doing. H1 color and margins. Okay, we're kind of running out of time, so I kind of want you guys to do the activity yourself as well. So if you guys are still like worried about or wondering about margins and its difference between padding, I can go into that a little bit later if we have extra time, but I really want you guys to like actually do this on your own. So here's your activity posted in the what you've worked already. So add another section for favorite movies and a bit about who created the movies when it was created, and make sure to add CSS. Your CSS is to change the font color family and the size of the change the font color family and size, as well as the size of the images. It's a lot. I know you might not finish in the time we have, which is only 6 minutes. That's really fine too. Since you guys are only like obligated to stay here for an hour, go ahead and leave at 4. But when we come back tomorrow, if you guys are here, we're gonna want to look at these in the beginning. So definitely work on it throughout today and beginning of tomorrow. If you finish early, if you finish at 4 exactly, we also want you guys to share your screens. So that's only if you guys have time. I know we went really fast too, so if you guys have any questions, if you want to go into depth a little bit more, I'm always free. But yeah, it's like definitely hard to do in 1 hour too. So yeah, ask questions. I think my power went out.